first off, let me introduce myself. My name is Richard. I'm actually head of Faculty Human Resources. And today we're going to be going over the April 3.0 program. Trying to get you updated as much as possible so that you're ready for this upcoming spring term. So I really appreciate everyone coming in early. I know a lot of things have been going on as of late. Obviously, the biggest thing is the whole coronavirus thing that's going around right now, right? I don't know. What's it kind of like at your locations? What's like the atmosphere like? Is everyone just more? Are people kind of getting to the point of like panicking, or are they just alert right now? Panicking, alert. Person in the beige sweater. You seem to be making the best eye contact right now, so I just called on you. Sorry? Oh, just like, what's it like at the academy right now, at your location? What's like the atmosphere like in terms of like the whole this coronavirus thing? Okay, well, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. All right, so hopefully it doesn't get to the point where we all need to take measures where we close down the academy for like 2 weeks at a time and so forth. Actually, I'm kind of curious, was anyone here in Korea when we were going through the whole like SARS or MERS thing? Oh, you were? Yeah, okay. So it hasn't gotten to that point yet though, right? So, good. Yeah, so you've already received all the packets, and I already see everyone kind of flipping through the pages and everything. I think you'll notice that as you flip through the pages, a lot of the changes for April 3.0, they're not curriculum based. A lot of it, right? A lot of it's technology based, right? So this morning we have scheduled 2 hours. Mostly I'll be going over, what different technological changes that you should be aware of, right? Your kids are going to be playing with a lot of different things that they didn't have before, right? And obviously, we need to be aware of what they're going to be playing with, right? There are a few curriculum changes, and we'll be going over that in the second half of the workshop, okay? So, just to give you a quick rundown, actually, so I've kind of broken it down so we can kind of expect how long it's going to take to get through this whole workshop. So if you take a look, the overview, as I mentioned before, is mostly platform changes for the students. And then one of the biggest changes for teachers is going to be how you actually get access to your classes, right? So you're not going to be using your April Teachers Gate anymore. We've actually upgraded it. It's not going to be in the PC. It's actually going to be online. There's a web version of it. Media cards. How many of us actually teach Chungdahm as well? Any double teachers? Right, so for those of us that teach Chungdahm, you're already familiar with the concept of media cards. We're introducing that to April as well, right? Project uploads. So currently everyone's uploading their projects to Creative Cafe through your Teacher's Gate. You're not gonna be doing that anymore, right? We've facilitated the process. So we'll be going over that, and that's going to be done through the Smart Manager. We'll take about a 5-minute break or so, and then we'll go into the curriculum changes. Okay. I'll be updating you on some of the changes that are taking place in the classroom, and then we have someone from our assessment team who's going to be going over the changes and the different, things that you need to be aware of when you're grading your students' speaking in the iLearning section. We'll finish off with maybe about 10 minutes or so of Q&A, assuming there are any questions. And then at the end, I'm not sure, have any of you actually seen some of the content that our marketing team's been creating with faculty, with like instructors? No? Okay. So they've actually done a lot of fun work. They've been getting a lot of views on the content they've been creating. If you actually want to be a part of this, we'll be introducing some of the opportunities, and there'll be an opportunity for you to sign up if you want to. Okay, so we'll introduce that at the end of the workshop. Okay? All right, cool. So, getting into it, let's go into the overview of what April 3.0 is. So as I mentioned before, a lot of technological changes for the students. Okay, so if we start out learning portal, so students are no longer going to have their April My Page. We've changed the whole concept. It's now called the learning portal. So this is purely for the students. Okay, it's just something that you should be aware of. Okay, so they're going to be doing their learning through their learning portal. We've introduced AI learning as well. So we'll get into that a little bit more. Okay, e-library. Basically, we're providing a lot of ebooks for the kids, which they get access to when they sign up for an April program. And this whole idea of social learning, which you can understand it as basically Creative Cafe upgraded. For our teachers, okay, obviously Smartboard TV is as is, but the Teachers Portal is a new thing. The Teachers Portal is going to be what's going to be replacing your Teachers Gate. Okay. Implementation of media cards and the Smart Manager. For April students, so they're actually going to have a lot of apps that they're going to be they're going to get access to. Right. So most likely they won't have their own phones. They'll most likely be using their parents' phones. But nonetheless, they'll have all these apps that they can use to get more out of the whole learning experience. So Learning Portal app, they'll be able to access their student page through the app on their mobile. They can access the e-library books through their mobile. AI learning and AR learning. Does anyone know what AR might stand for? AI is artificial intelligence. AR. So VR, we have virtual reality, AR. Yeah, augmented reality. So if any of you have played Pokemon Go, basically I think about 5-6 years ago, it was a huge trend, right? Like people all over New York City, they were running around with their cell phones trying to catch Pokemon. So basically, they were able to see these Pokemon-like characters in an actual real environment, and they tried to catch it. So we've implemented that technology, and we've created games that the kids can play with. Okay. And I'm not sure how many of you are aware of it, but there's a mobile app for parents as well that they can use to track their student progresses. Something that they've implemented that's new is shuttle bus tracker. So for a lot of parents, there's a lot of anxiety sending their kids off to academies on their own. So parents are actually going to be able to track where the kids are, making sure that they're on the shuttle when they get off the shuttle and get into the academy. Okay. So just different things that we need to be aware of. Okay. Have any of us actually ever seen the student homepage, My Page? No? Okay. So before the design wasn't geared towards children. It was more of like an adult-focused design. But they've changed that with 3.0. Okay. And all the different components that we just talked about before are available through the learning portal, right? The student page here. Okay. Oh, so something else that they've introduced is this idea of characters. So if you're familiar with like Kakao Friends, right, or Line Friends, we actually have our own line of characters now. Does anyone actually know some of the characters? Does anyone know what that person's? Sorry? Okay, Vina and Kewpie. Right, and Chungdahm has their own set of characters as well. So social learning, as I mentioned to you before, this is the upgraded version of the Creative Cafe. Okay, Creative Cafe is where the students were able to upload their projects, and then other students would, like it, not like it, and so forth. Right. So this is the upgraded version of it. Students are still, through their teachers, uploading their projects onto the learning portal now, onto the social learning. And here, students will be able to share their projects. They'll be able to comment on each other's projects, give likes to each other's projects. They're not called likes. In Chungdahm terminology, we call them buffs. right? So students will be giving buffs to each other, and based off of how much they're interacting on this social learning platform, they're going to be earning learning points. And these learning points contribute to, I guess, I think most locations are still implementing this whole idea of getting points to buy certain souvenirs or pencils or and so forth, right? So this is important for the kids, for most of your locations. Okay, so even uploading projects will contribute to their learning points, and I think I've heard that for April, the filtering process for projects is a little bit more strict, right? So if a project doesn't turn out very, very well, it's encouraged that the teachers don't upload, right? So for the most part, we want to upload these projects for the kids, right? For the most part, right? Just so that they can get these points, okay? And obviously there will be those exceptions where the kids aren't speaking or not doing anything, right? So Vina Talk. So this is the AI learning. If you watch a lot of YouTube, I watch a lot of YouTube, and of late, this seems to be the trend, right? Apps that people can use to practice their speaking, right? And the AI will respond and so forth. So Chungdahm has come up with their own version of this AI speaking learning, right? And it's called Vina Talk. You can actually download it and you can actually play with it if you'd like. It is on the Play Store right now. So basically, students are going to be able to practice simple phrases, right? And the Vina Talk does give feedback to the students, whether they're correct or incorrect and so forth. This activity is directly connected with a book that they have also. They have an expressions book that they're introducing into Seed, right? Which is connected with this Vina app as well, okay? You're not going to be doing this in class. This is something that they're doing on their own, right? It's not mandatory, it's their choice, right? But again, if you see them with a cell phone in the hallways during the break time and they're, talking about this Vina Talk, we all know what the kids are doing. Okay. And AR learning, two kinds of AR learning here. So as we mentioned before, AR meaning augmented reality, Mimi buff. All right, so Mimi. And buff for vocabulary. So if we actually get into it, April buff for Sprout level. Just as I mentioned to you before, Pokemon Go is an AR game. Similar to that, what students are going to be able to do is with their mobile phone, they're going to be able to read or complete an activity in their book. They'll scan their phone over a particular page, and it'll introduce a game or an activity that they can do. Right. And this is, again, I believe this is, it will contribute to learning points, but it's not mandatory. And again, this is something that they do on their own. You're not going to be overseeing it, just something to be aware of. Okay. And for Seedbed and Seed, okay, they're going to be given projects that they can do, right? Depending on what they scan, right? Similar to the idea of AR that we were talking about before. Again, something that you're not going to be overseeing or facilitating, just something to be aware of. Okay. Two things that you need to be aware of here, right, that do directly apply to April instructors. First off is our project app, right, for CTP, right, and test scoring automation. Okay, the personalized communication, that's for parents, obviously, or for staff who are going to be tracking where the students are and so forth. So for the first one, up till this point, what have you been using to upload projects or to record your projects? Person with the black face mask. So what do we use to, for 2.0, what have we been using to upload our projects or record our projects? Sorry? Like how you record it. In the classroom, yeah. Cell phones? Oh, really? Oh, okay. Oh, that's great. That's great. So I already know that some locations, they have already converted over to cell phones, but I think for the most part, most locations are still using chroma key. They have the blue screen or the green screen, right? And then they have the webcam or the camera that's attached to the ceiling and so forth, right? Very limiting, right? So obviously they have to be in a particular location. The quality is not that great and so forth. We've introduced a new app that you can download on a mobile device, right? And you'll be able to create hopefully better projects. And I'll go into a little bit more detail a little bit later on that. The second part is test score automation, right? Achievement tests, we give achievement tests week 10, right? And up to this point, I think the direction that Chungdahm is going right now is tracking student performance, right, on a large scale. So keeping track of data, basically, right? And our hopes is that by collecting all this data, we'll be able to discover, all right, so what are the things that students are really struggling with, right? How can we improve the whole learning process, right? But in order to do that, we need to have as many data points as possible. How are we going to do that? So they've introduced this app where basically once the students fill out their OMR cards, all the teachers need to do through this app is just capture it, right? And that'll actually get processed, right? It'll keep track of how students are doing for each question type, for each question and so forth. And hopefully from this data, we can get new insights on how to help students learn better, right? So that's another app. It's actually the same app, right? But there's two different functions as part of this app. The details, you'll be getting your manuals through the FTP. I'll give you a little bit more information about that at the end. But for now, those are the two things that are directly related to you in terms of, I guess, AR learning. So getting into what's directly relevant for April facilitators. Okay. So we're calling it the Teachers Portal. Okay. Two parts to this Teachers Portal for April. Okay. So first off, April Gate 3.0. I think this will give you a better idea, right? So I've moved around the slides. It might be on a few slides down in the packets that I've handed out, okay? But basically, this is what you were using. This is what you'll be using moving forward. Again, you don't need to sign in through the PC, or it's not going to be a program that you open up on your PC. You just need to go onto the internet, basically, through Chrome. Okay, and we've streamlined a lot of the things that are available on the screen. Okay, so we've gotten rid of a lot of stuff that teachers never use. Right, it was just like taking up space. So if you take a look at number 6, no more online training link, April Teachers Community link, e-sticker link. No one was using them. Right, so not anymore. You don't need to upload your projects through the Teachers Gate anymore. As I said before, there's an app that you're going to be using to record and upload your projects. You just need to you can directly upload it through your mobile app. Okay. Grades, you're still putting into the MERP, right? And in terms of getting access to your classes, we've streamlined that whole process. Okay, so. I actually come from a Chungdahm background, and schedules are very, very easy. 2 time slots, 2 classes, right? But for April, Monday, Wednesday, Friday schedule was different from a Tuesday, Thursday schedule, and it's not just one long time slot that you're teaching 45-minute time slots, and you're moving classrooms and so forth, right? So keeping track of what books you need to open up, what classes you need to open up. For me, it just seemed like it was really, really hectic. So we've streamlined the process where once you sign in, on the day of like a Monday class, only your Monday classes will show up, Okay, you don't need to be looking through trying to find, your Monday class among the other Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday classes. Okay, so that's what it's going to look like. I'll show you the actual website after we get through the second part of this. Okay, we've reorganized the way that you actually can get access. Okay, and I think you'll get a sense of how much easier it is to actually access the books once you open up the website yourself. Okay. Okay. So this whole idea of media cards, I think all of us are already using media in our classrooms for the most part. Yes? Okay. So there's media that's already in your textbooks as links, right? It has that whole like Internet Explorer icon that's in your textbook, okay? And I think some of you still use it. Some of you are like, wow, okay, this link is dead, or it's too old, okay? And what do? Right, let's see. Lady coat, yeah, okay. Do you use media outside of what's in the textbook? Just April 8? You don't. Does anyone use like YouTube videos? Oh, you do? Okay. So how does that work? How do you show a YouTube video? Like how do you set it up on your computer? Go ahead. Right. Right. Okay. So just like, sorry, what's your name? Larry. Just like Larry said, for the most part, you open up a tab, right, on Chrome or whatever, on Internet Explorer, right? You close it down and you open it up when you need it. You have to remember, right, when you have to open it up based off of whatever section of the book that you're teaching, right? You open it up and you have to show, let's say, like a video clip on animals, let's say. But I guess what are some of the risks? What are some of the problems of opening up a YouTube tab? I'm sure all of us have experienced it. I know I've experienced it. Advertisements, okay. Anything else? Sorry? Yeah, okay. Recommended videos, right? I'm not really sure, I guess, what the relationship is between videos that you tend to watch and the recommended videos, but, you'll get that like occasional, like, for example, Family Guy video, and it's showing like the most like graphic scene, from Family Guy, right? So even though your intent was to show this perfectly fine, cute animal kitten video, right? There's that Family Guy video where Peter Griffin is showing his butt, So there's like those awkward situations. So through the media cards, we hope that we can help instructors get rid of some of these, like, I guess, issues, okay? So media cards, you'll be able to create 3 different kinds: YouTube, picture, and text, okay? And what does that look like? Okay. You'll be able to create something like this, conceptually, okay? So as I mentioned before to Larry, right, currently right now, if you do want to show media, you have to remember, okay, as soon as I go over the title, I want to show a video to introduce or start a discussion, right? So then you go to the tab. Here, with media cards, you can create a media card right next to the place that you want to start or open up this media and then start a discussion. So you don't need to have everything memorized, okay? Second, right, if you want to start a discussion, right, most likely you need to have a question prepared, right? Most likely you'll have written that down in your textbooks, right? Here, you can just actually add the text to the media card so that once you're done with the video, students can see what the question is. Okay, so it's available for everyone. Okay. And when you show the video in here, no recommended videos on the side. Okay. Okay. You can show images as well. We set up in a way where you can show several images just in case you want to compare, right? As a teacher, I always like to show more than one picture, just so that they have a point of reference. Right. Okay. And when you're prepping, okay, you'll be prepping in the teacher's gate. Right. The books will be there for you to create your media cards on, and this is what it'll look like. So, depending on where you want to place your media card, you'll be able to create a media card. Just press the plus button. Very, very intuitive. So I don't think I need to do a walkthrough with you. As soon as you open up, it'll make sense. Okay. And there will be a manual that's provided if you need it. Okay. And so once you create your media cards, okay, this is what it's going to look like. Okay. Notice there is a preview picture. So you are aware of what you've placed there. Another nice thing is, again, with YouTube links, okay, every time that we teach a program again, we have to remember, oh, so that was a video that I used, right? So maybe you've jotted down the link so that you know what video you want to use the next time you teach the same lesson. Here, the media cards, they stay in there. So you don't need to recreate. Okay, having said that, okay, I think media, like being able to implement media is great, okay? But we do have to be careful. We do have to make sure that whatever media we're showing to our students, it has to be targeted for that particular student, age group, English ability, and so forth. So this actually happened last month. Okay, a teacher just wanted to use media, right? And for her preschool students, I believe they were 6 years old. Did anyone actually hear about this story? Yeah, 6-year-old students. She showed a BBC video, so it's not as if it wasn't a credible video or anything. It wasn't like, grimy or anything like that. It was from a reputable source, BBC, right? But the clips that she decided to show was, I'm not sure what the topic was, but the video was basically this guy who wanted to find out what human meat might taste like. So he went to a lab, and there was this one scene where the doctors were sticking a needle into his leg to get some of his, flesh out, so that they can understand what the composition was. Right? And based off of that, they found out that, oh, okay, human flesh is kind of like 10% pork, 15% beef, right? They mixed all that up, and it's like he ate a hamburger of that, made of that meat composition. Right? So, oh, okay, so this is what a human might taste like. So that was the whole idea behind it, right? But obviously for these kids, it was a traumatic experience, right? And the parents, they actually went to the police, right, and said, this is child abuse, and this teacher, right, who was just trying to, show an educational video, her intent was, I'm sure, was not to, traumatize these kids, right? But she needed to put a little bit more thought into what kind of media that she showed, okay? So when you are deciding to use media in your classrooms, please make sure that it is appropriate for the particular target that you're teaching, right? So that video, it might be appropriate. It might be okay for a Chungdahm student who's taking the master's program, the highest level, right? But it wouldn't be appropriate for like a seed level class, okay? So just in case, because all the people that we've invited here today are the experienced teachers or the FMs or the TLs, right? When you are letting your instructors know about the April 3.0 program, please do make sure you point this out for them, right? There will be a media implementation guide. It's not in your packets. We'll be putting this up on FTP. So if you do have new instructors who have no idea about how to filter media, okay, we've provided a simple guideline that they can use, to determine if this media would be appropriate or inappropriate. Okay. Does anyone have any questions about this? Yeah. Okay. So I won't actually show the video clips. So Smart Manager. Smart Manager, as I explained to you before, okay, it has two parts to it: CTP project and the OMR card scanner. So I'll just be going into a little bit more detail about the CTP project itself. Okay. So as we were talking about before, April 2.0, most of the projects were being recorded through webcam, chroma key. You have to edit it through your PC, and then you upload through the April gate. Some locations, because their chroma key was broken, right, or it wasn't working, or just the quality wasn't there, your branch managers, your FMs, requested instructors to record through mobiles, through their phones, and then you would edit through iMovie or KineMaster. Then you'd have to transfer it over to your PC, and then you'd have to upload it. Okay, so we've gotten rid of all that middle work, right? And basically, you can do everything through this Smart Manager app, right, in April 3.0. The nice thing also is that there are editing functions, right? There are masks that you can use in the app itself, but let's say you just want to take it one step further. You want to create better quality, you can use other apps as well. So all you need to do is record through iMovie or KineMaster, edit, and you can just upload that into to the CTP app and upload through there. Okay, so you're not limited to just whatever functions that are available in the Smart Manager. Okay, so these are a couple of the screenshots, the most relevant screenshots, right, for when you're uploading the projects. Okay, I think some of the biggest benefits of having being able to record through the phone, right, is that you're no longer limited to the angles that you use, right, or the locations, right. Whenever I watch April 2.0 projects, it's all the same. Kids are lined up against a wall, right, and then they're all speaking one time in a row, right. Now that you have a mobile, and it wasn't available during the pilot, but it will be available during spring. There is a pause during the recording, right? So what you can do is, because if one kid messes up, you got to start all over again, right? So what you can do is you can record close up one student, pause, and go on to the next student, record, pause, and record, pause, and so forth. So you don't have the burden of everyone doing it perfectly in one try, okay? And like I said, I love the fact that you can now actually do close-ups, right? As opposed to just everyone, you're trying to squeeze everyone into one shot. Another thing to point out here, okay, so the next step after you record and basically you select which students are in the particular project that you've recorded, okay? And when you're uploading, this is the one thing that I'd like you to pay attention to, right, is that this whole idea of a teacher's pick, okay? On the learning portal, there is a separate section for projects that have been recognized as the teacher's pick. These are the best projects, okay? And among these best projects, these projects are going to be spotlighted on the front page of the learning portal. So it's not just available for students. I'm not going to be if I'm a student, I'm not just looking at the projects that are in my class. I'm going to be able to look at the best projects from around the whole country, okay? So, but you don't want to be giving for your project teacher's pick, okay? So ideally, you want to limit it to one. In the exceptional case where there's maybe more than one, that's perfectly fine. but minimally you want to have at least, try to have one teacher's pick. Of course, you'll have those odd weeks when the students don't have a great project and none of them get teacher's pick, okay? But ideally you want to have one every time they're doing a CTP. And I think for some of you that are already using the mobile, you already know the difference between the quality of the projects. Okay, so the intent behind this slide was to just show there's a huge difference, right, in terms of the resolution, right, of the project quality. Does anyone have any questions on the CTP app or any of the other things that I've spoken about? Oh, question.
Will there still be a size limit for videos that we upload?
Sorry, what?
Sorry, will there still be a size limit for videos that we upload?
Oh, size limit.
So
The size limit is going to be determined by length,
right.
right? And so for the most part, I think most projects on average don't go past a minute, right?
The 100 megabyte limit.
So already, like if you're recording through the CTP app, right, it converts it to a size that's already that's small enough for the server to handle, right? So you don't need to worry about the size. If you're recording using another app, right, and you send it in, it'll be converted. Yeah, so you don't need to worry about, but obviously you don't want to be using an Apple computer to edit your, what's that program that professionals use in the Apple computer? Any Apple users, iOS users? That's right, iMovie. Okay. But nonetheless, it will be converted, so you don't need to worry about size. You just need to worry about the length of the project, right? And I think for as long as it doesn't exceed 2 minutes, you should be fine. Yeah. Question?
I heard that you can, like in the editing tool, you can put masks on the kids.
Yeah.
So their faces show.
Okay. So all the functions that you'll be able to use to edit your projects will be available in the manual. So yes, how many of you have used a Snow app before? Snow app? Okay. As she has mentioned, I'm sorry, what's your name?
Maddie.
Maddie. So as Maddie's mentioned, yes, you will be able to use masks to cover the students' faces if they want, and there's different types. The intent behind it was originally for Chungdahm students. So once students hit puberty and they're getting acne and pimples and so forth, they hate being in front of the camera, right? So we introduced the idea of using masks there, but I think for kids, they just enjoy the idea of wearing masks. So masks are going to be available. The only one thing is that, and you'll be able to figure this out once you start using it, you have to put the masks on before you start recording. So once you're prepping it, you choose the mask, right? And the cool thing is that a lot of apps, they only allow one mask to be seen, or 2, 3, and so forth. We've created this app specifically so that up to, I think, 5 students can get masks, right? But it has to be done beforehand, right? A couple other things that were added: backgrounds, okay? So if you want like a news center, if you're doing like a news report project, right? There is a background or a border, right? That kind of simulates a news desk and so forth. So there'll be different backgrounds that are available as well. Okay. Any other questions regarding the CTP app? How are we doing on time? 10:42? Okay. So we're actually ahead of time. So what I'll do is I'll stop at the writing process. So I'll leave the CTP stuff for after the hour. Okay. So for curriculum update, again, for April Palette, it's not something that you need to be aware of. I think the book has already been introduced, and you've already been using it for the most part. But for Seed 1 and Seed 2 curriculum changes, right, it's just the expressions book that's been introduced. And this is the book that's correlated with the VinaTalk app. Okay. Have we already been using this April expressions book? Right? Okay. Okay. I think this is probably going to be the biggest change. And when we did this in the pilot, this was the thing that, this was a change that most instructors were the happiest about, right? I'm just kind of curious if everyone has the same gripe first. Okay. When you were, have all of us taught Sprout before? Yes? Okay. So what's your biggest gripe about teaching Sprout writing? No gripes? Sorry? Okay. So what's one of those gripes? Let me see if I can frame it better. What about in terms of difficulty level?
Yes, the variance between writing exercises, the topics that you do can be sometimes very easy or very difficult, causing a bit of a struggle for the students at times.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a whole different box that you're opening up right now. So basically, the biggest thing that the curriculum team discovered through getting feedback and so forth was that in Sprout, we throw kids right into the idea of writing a story from lesson 1, right? So if you were to ask me to write a story, just write a story, like, I have no idea how to go about doing that, right? So I don't know how we would expect kids to be able to do that. Writing a story is very, very difficult, right? And so what they've introduced is step-by-step development, right? So they understand what the story components are before they even start beginning to write a story, okay? So basically, we've cut up the whole process of writing a story so that it's a lot easier for instructors to deliver to students, right? You don't need to focus on the idea of writing a whole story. You can just focus on the idea of, let's say, for example, creating characters. The next lesson, describing setting. The next lesson, maybe figuring out a plot and so forth, right? So it's been broken up lesson by lesson so that you don't have the overwhelming task of trying to help these students write a whole story from lesson 1. Okay. So going into it, currently for Sprout 1, okay, they're expected to write a full story starting lesson 1, right? And they're also introduced to all 3 writing types in the same lesson and level, right? So they're expected to be able to write letter, right, and paragraph, okay? But that's been split up over 3 levels so that in Sprout 1, they're only doing 1 type of writing, story writing. Sprout 2, an additional writing task. Sprout 3, an additional writing task. And if we look at each section as, let's say, 4 weeks, okay? If you, let's start at Sprout 1, everyone, for A1. Okay, so this is the first 4 weeks, right, of the level. Right, these 4 weeks are going to be devoted to understanding the components of a story, and then after week 4, all the lessons, they should already understand all the components so that they'll be able to write a full story. Okay. Same thing goes for Sprout 2. They're introduced to a new writing task. The first 4 weeks are devoted to helping them understand how to write a paragraph. Same thing goes for email writing, right? Introduction of a new task. In Sprout 3, first 4 weeks devoted to understanding the components of how to write an email before they start doing the whole task on a weekly basis. Okay. There's only one thing. There's only one, I guess, possible downside to this, right? Can anyone kind of figure out what that might be? It's their iLearning. So their iLearning, they're still writing a full story, right? So there's a slight mismatch there, but in order to compensate for that, iLearning, they've introduced more guidance so that students will be able to write a full story, even though they haven't covered all the components in class. Okay, so just something to be aware of. That despite the fact that the first 4 weeks we're breaking it down into more manageable pieces, iLearning, they're still doing the whole task. Okay, but like I said, to compensate for that, they've introduced more guidance. The next couple sections, we're going to be looking at what these lessons look like. I'm just going to be skimming through these quickly so that you have an idea of what these lessons look like the first 4 weeks. Okay. Oh, okay. All right. So if you take a look, okay, this is the breakdown for the first 4 weeks for each of the different levels. These are the lessons that you're going to be teaching them on a weekly basis. Right, the different parts. Okay, so I don't need to read these out for you. Okay. And for Sprout 1 story writing, an idea of what the lessons are going to be looking like. So learning about story structure, beginning, middle, end. Lesson 2, characters and setting. Week 2, focusing on beginning. Students writing their own beginning. Week 3, students are introduced to the idea of what a good middle might look like. Students are writing their own beginning and middle. Students understanding what needs to be at the end of a story through an example. Students writing a whole story. Okay. Does anyone have any questions on the writing changes? No? And so, more, I guess, lesson samples of what these lessons look like. But again, you'll have a chance to just look through these in more detail on your own. Okay. Speaking curriculum change. Okay. So if everyone can come to this page. So no, it's just the change is just for track B. Right. So for even lessons, they've introduced topical speaking. Okay. And this is mostly to help the students with their achievement tests. Right. Just so that they have more familiarity with what a topical speaking question looks like. Because it was believed that the feedback was they didn't get enough exposure to these kinds of questions, and then all of a sudden they had to do this question type in the achievement test. So this is just to introduce more exposure to the students for this kind of speaking type so that they're ready for their achievement tests. Okay. So what track are we on? Track B. Okay. So an example of what this speaking lesson would look like. Okay. So if there aren't any questions, okay, we'll take about a 5-minute break or so. Okay. If you do go to the restroom or go outside, right, make sure you're wearing your masks. Right? When you come in, please use a sanitizer, right? And we'll start around 11-ish, okay? All right, thank you. So the last curriculum change is going to be for the CTP for sapling and junior masters. Okay. And basically, they've revamped the whole thing, right? So new topics have been introduced. Okay, so I believe any of the lessons that you currently have right now are now are officially unusable. So in terms of just the project types, for junior master, it was all debate projects. That's been changed so that it alternates between presentation and debate. Okay, so it's not just debate anymore for junior masters. And this is going to be the biggest change. So if you notice, it's called CTP-T. Can anyone guess what the T might stand for? Technology. Technology. Okay, so all the topics have been revised so that they're more technology oriented. Okay, so in your packets you've been given basically the list of the topics that they'll be covering, and you'll notice that all of them have some relation to technology. Okay, so for example, sampling 1, city life, virtual assistant. The project, you'll design an intelligent virtual assistant to help you with your busy city life. Create a commercial to advertise your new virtual assistant. Okay, so if you're unfamiliar with what a virtual assistant is, I know it's kind of trending in Korea right now. It's basically those cylindrical looking things that you keep at home, and then once you come home, you can tell it to turn on the television and so forth. So I don't know the actual extent of the functions, right? All I know is that it's some cylindrical thing, and you can speak to it like you're speaking to Bixby or you're speaking to Siri. Yeah. Okay. So sapling topics and junior master topics. Okay. So for junior masters, as an example, virtual pets. For this project, you'll create a new virtual pet app. You'll present your virtual pet app to students and explain why they should download your app. Okay, so I mean, I'm not sure what a virtual app would be like these days, but when I was younger, a virtual app to me or a virtual pet was Tamagotchi. Right. So I think that makes more sense for us, right? I'm not sure what it is these days. Here, let's be honest. How many of you actually had a Tamagotchi? There, yeah. Okay. In terms of class structure, okay, this is how it's going to break down. And you'll notice that there are a lot more steps in between. Okay. The naming of the sections have changed. Knowledge activation, understand, discussion, prompt, ideate, materialize, prepare, present. Okay. And for those of us that teach Chungdahm, these should be very, very familiar. This is the process, this is the methodology, this is the component naming that we use for CTPs in Chungdahm. Right. And the idea here was that, I'm not sure if everyone is aware, before April 3.0, before Chungdahm 4.0, before iGarden, is everyone familiar with iGarden? Our iGarden brand is for kindergarten students. Okay, so we have a brand for kindergarten students below April, right? We didn't actually have like a clear connection between iGarden to April to Chungdahm. So it wasn't very clear for a student who just loves the Chungdahm brand, right? And they just wanted to develop through our Chungdahm brands. So they wanted to go to iGarden, April, and Chungdahm, but that road wasn't actually very clear, right? So if I'm an iGarden student and and iGarden knows what my English proficiency level is, but if I went to April, I had to retake an entrance test so that I would be placed. And then if I'm an April student, I needed to take another test to know what level I was at Chungdahm. Ideally, if I'm staying within the brand, I don't need to be taking more than one entrance test, right? There's just a clear roadmap for a student to follow. So with the introduction of iGarden 2.0, April 3.0, Chungdahm 4.0, we have created that roadmap. So students who are staying within the brand, they don't need to take the entrance test over and over again, right? But at the same time, we also need to make sure that the curriculum, there's overlap there so that students who are in April and they're about to age out when they're in the higher levels, they can naturally go to Chungdahm and adapt, right? So for sapling and junior masters, right, their project, the approach to projects is pretty much the same as what they would experience in Chungdahm CTP projects. Okay, it is to help them to adapt. And I think the reason why we went this route is for current projects, the prompts, they were way too open. There wasn't a lot of guidance. It was kind of like, all right, kids, here's a blank piece of paper. We would like you to create a virtual pet, right? So talk with your friends about it, draw something, right? And then present to your class, right? But that's not how we kind of develop, or that's not how we want to help students develop thinking or develop an approach to approaching problems, right? So we introduced the Chungdahm methodology here where it's broken down step by step. You'll be able to see a lesson sample of what that looks like so that students can put together their virtual pet from beginning to final product. Okay, so lesson flow. Okay. So currently they're given this thinking tool. Students are given these maps, mind maps that they can use to brainstorm their ideas, create and present week 2. Okay. This is what it's going to look like moving forward. Okay. So week 1 is devoted to actually developing some kind of background about the topic. Okay. So April students, they're what? They're like in 3rd grade to 6th grade, right? Oh, 1st grade to 6th grade, okay? So their scope of experience is very narrow, right? And so the intent behind week 1, right, when you're going over background knowledge, is to widen their scope just a little bit, make sure that they understand, give them some kind of context, right? Give them some kind of background knowledge that they can use to actually create their, in this situation, virtual assistant. Okay, so week 1, background knowledge, project creation. Week 2, more time for project creation, and then they get to present. Okay, and junior masters over the course of 3 weeks. Okay, same process. So I'll just quickly kind of skim through what an actual lesson looks like. I've just put in the sapling lesson for your reference. These guides will be available for you on the FTP. So here's another note that you should let your instructors know about. They haven't created books new books for the CTP. They haven't been able to edit the current books with new CTPs. You will have to print these out, right? And that goes for the writing and the speaking curriculum changes as well. They haven't been able to edit the books. My guess is that we already have an inventory, right, of these books, right? So it wouldn't be economical for us to print whole new books and waste all these books that we have in inventory. So right now, currently, you will have to print them on the FTP. Okay. So just a quick run through. Okay. Yeah. And I think depending on your locations, you should definitely speak with your BMs and FMs about the approach. Whether you'll be printing these on a weekly basis or whether you're going to be printing them all at once and just, like your staff might just print them all at once and create like a small booklet for them. Again, just an idea of the different kind of guidelines that are given to help the students develop their ideas. Okay. Oh, so I did put in the junior master's lesson here. Okay. So are there any questions on the CTP section for students? Oh, yes, question.
The SAC one is 2 weeks, and junior masters are
Yes.
3 weeks.
Okay. Any other questions regarding CTP? Just on another note, I think you might want to jot this down because I don't have it in the PPT. I was just made aware that for your Smart Manager app, the CTP application, right? So there's Android users and then there's iOS users, okay? So Android users, the app will be available, when the term starts. iOS, right, it won't be available until 15th of March. Okay, so just something to be aware of. And on another note, just one second. At the start of the term. So it'll be ready for the beginning of the term. But iOS, March 15th. Other limitations as well. Okay, I just realized this, so please jot this down just in case. Just in case. So it is available for phones for the most part, as long as the Android version is above. I was told Samsung 6, which is ancient, right? Then the app should have no issues, right, running. For tabs, though. You might have to double check. So for tabs, right, there might be a issue because of the actual technology that went into making this app. So there's a facial recognition, I guess, program in there, right? As I told you before, it can recognize up to five faces so that they can actually put the face mask on. And because of that, you need the pretty updated version of software on the tab, right? And if you are teaching at a Chungdahm April location where you're teaching both programs and you have Chungdahm tabs on hand, right? I've been told that the Chungdahm tabs, they're actually not a high enough version for you to run the apps. The facial recognition won't work. Okay, so just something to be aware of.
My name is Christina Kim. I'm from assessment team. We're gonna go over the iLearning part of April 3.0. Have you guys been grading the speaking evaluations of your students? Yes? Okay. So for SEED, we have a good news. You will not be grading their writing sentence creation tasks anymore. So we will be mainly focusing on the speaking component. All right, so we're gonna go over the speaking components that were revised. These are SEED dialogue creation. Then we have Sprout picture cute speaking. We have Sprout 3 topical speaking, and then Junior Master listen speak. For topical speaking, it repeats again for the Junior Master levels. Just an additional category was added in the rubric. So these components were all revised. The rubrics are going to be totally new to you. The main reason why we revised the rubrics was, as Richard was explaining, we're trying to consolidate all platforms, all levels across brands. So they are pretty much going to be similar to the ones that Chungdahm is using currently. Okay, so this will help us facilitate the assessment of the speaking submissions. And our main goal is for us to be able to grade all this speaking tasks across countries, because we're going to be launching in Japan soon as well. So anyone who's been trained for this speaking evaluation should be able to grade any other student who's learning from April as well as Chungdahm. So that's our main goal. We're gonna start with sentence dialogue creation for only seed 1 and 2. As you can see, this is the student's view. You will not be able to see this on your teacher's platform, but this is just a brief description of what students will be doing. So for seeds dialogue creation, students will be encountered with one of the speaking passages that they've been studying from C Learning. So they are going to be familiar with this passage. The main goal of this task is to help students create their own dialogue. But we know it's really hard for seed students, so we are basically providing 1 or 2 phrases. And then you're going to see that the second and fourth picture, they have question marks. So students will have to complete the dialogue. In order for students to be able to do this, we're going to be providing certain hints on their platform. They should be exactly the same as a passage they see on C Learning. So I'm going to move on to the speaking rubric for sentence dialogue creation. You're going to see that we've broken the rubric into mainly 2 huge categories. So we're going to be grading them on their content and their presentation skills. Under content, you're going to see a main category called relevance. Under this category, we're going to be checking on how well they use the given phrases on the dialogue. So as I told you earlier, they're going to be giving certain hints. So we're going to see how well they were used in their speaking task. So the highest point they can get is a 3, and 0 will be the lowest. If you see under 3, it says all of the given phrases are used properly. So we're not going to penalize them if they use all the given phrases. Okay, so that'll be a score of 3. A score of 2 would be if, let's say, out of the 2 hints provided, they were only able to use 1 of them. So that will be down to a score of 2, which says some of the given phrases are used properly. A score of 1 will be given when they're not used properly at all. So maybe they just came up with random phrases, they didn't know what to do, so that will be a score of 1. A score of 0 is only given when there's no attempt to respond. So sometimes they don't know what to do, they get lost, and all you hear is just like a huge blank response. That's the only case when we're going to be giving them a 0. Okay. The next category is called original ideas. In this category, this is where students will be able to get some extra points if they include their own ideas in this dialogue. Okay, so the first priority would be to use the hints provided, and also they will be encouraged to use some of their own ideas. Okay, so maybe, I'm not sure, but the default score might be a score of 1, which says that the ideas are not original. So at this level, students really don't know what to do. They may just simply read what they learn in C Learning. So this might be the default score, but if you see that they're going out of the way to just add some ideas of their own, you may want to give them additional points on this. So a score of 3 will be given when all the ideas are original. Okay? Score of 2 would be average. Like let's say in one of the pictures they added their ideas, and in one of them they just simply read. So that would be your guidance for original ideas. We were screening over the pilot speaking students, and yeah, we realized that the default would be a 1. Don't feel bad. I mean, that's just there for you to help. Let's be objective. No brownie points for being cute. All right, so I'm gonna move on to the presentation part. On these two main categories, we're gonna grade their overall presentation skills. Now, their speaking responses are not gonna be recorded. It's just gonna be a voice recording, so there's no video present. So all we're gonna look at is on how well they use vocabulary and grammar under comprehensibility. Now, given that they're ESL students, we don't expect them to use perfect grammar or perfect vocabulary. But as long as you understand what they're saying, they should be able to get a score of 3. So if you look at the description for 3, it says the response has a few errors, but it's easy to understand. So if you're able to understand what they're saying, although they may have minor errors, they should be able to get a perfect mark under this category. A score of 2 is given when there are errors and some parts are hard to understand. So you're just like, you have to replay it back and you're like, oh, I don't know what this kid is saying. Okay? Score of 1 would be given when there's so many errors that you just have to give up. You don't understand what they're saying. And again, a score of 0 is only given when there's no attempt to respond. Okay? No attempt to respond could be due to maybe they don't know how to do it, so all you hear is just like background noise, or sometimes they don't know what they have to do and they just decide to leave you a voice message and they're like, teacher, I don't know what's going on. So anything that is not on task. The next category we have under presentation is called fluency. Okay, given again that we're teaching ESL students, we don't expect them to be fluent like a native speaker, okay? So all we're gonna be grading them here is on their pauses, whether or not they're fluent in the speed of their presentation. So speed has to be at a natural pace. They may have some unnecessary pauses, but as long as this doesn't hinder the presentation itself, they should be able to get a full score of 3. Okay, a score of 2 will be given when there are definitely breaks. So they speak fluently for 10 seconds and then you hear for like 2-3 seconds they're just like mumbling. Okay? And then a score of 1 would be given when there are so many unnecessary pauses. You hear the mom yelling at the kid at the back and then they don't know what to do. So that's when you would give it a score of 1. There are cases when students, again, they don't know what to do, and it's hard to actually be objective with their grading. In this case, we're gonna call it off topic. So although the entire prompt is about Cinderella, they don't know what to do on this task, they start talking about Peter Pan. So in that case, they still made an attempt to present. So we're not going to penalize them on their presentation. That's what it means here. Off topic, at the bottom you see there it says off topic speaking, no cap for presentation. So you would be grading their presentation skills as it is, but on the content side, we will be giving them a 1-1. That's the rule of thumb. Okay, any questions with dialogue creation before we move on? Okay. All right, next component, this is for levels Sprout 1 to 3. This is called picture cue speaking. I believe there was a similar task for 2.0. In this task, students will be given a set of images. They're going to be exposed to these images in the C learning section as well. So the goal of this task is to help students come up with a story or presentation based on the given pictures. So on our speaking rubric, you're gonna see on the content side, there's picture 1, 2, 3, and 4. What we want to achieve here is to grade how well they're able to describe the pictures. They have to be relevant. The details that they use to describe the picture should help them make an entire story or presentation depending on the prompt of that week. So there is the big difference between a score of a 3 and a 2 would be how many details they use to describe each picture. So a score of 3 would be, for instance, if you look at the previous picture here, there is a kid drawing a picture on a rock. it would be something like, a score of 2 would be something like, there is a boy painting on a rock, versus once upon a time, there was a boy living in the Stone Age and he's drawing a picture on a rock. Okay, so that would be the main difference between a 3 and a 2. Use your judgment. So every single picture will be scaled the same way, the highest point being a 3, and 0 again when there's no attempt to respond. Across programs, we consolidated the rubrics. So the presentation portion, all the categories will have the same points, the same weight, and the same description. Okay? Now we have an additional category here called organization, and the subcategory is called flow. In this category, we want to assess students on how well they complete the entire story. So sometimes they get nervous, sometimes they don't know what they're doing. Okay, so this is where you're gonna be able to determine whether or not they did a good job in making a full story. So a score of 3 would be given to students when they are able to actually tell you a story. They will be using appropriate transitions, they will be using appropriate time frames to be able to complete the story. A score of 1 would be given when they simply just say, picture 1, there's a boy drawing. Picture 2, the boy and the girl are happy. You know, they're just merely describing the pictures. So that is the main difference in this category. Okay, any questions before I move on to the next task? Nope. Okay. Yes.
The scrub 2 has 5 pictures, and the scrub 3 has 6 pictures, and the
Mhm.
highest score will change.
No. So only the categories will be added. So maybe it'll have picture 5 additionally, but the description of the scores, 3, 2, 1, 0 remains the same.
Then the highest score
Mm-hmm.
change.
Oh, you mean the total weight? Yes, that will be changed. The system will automatically calculate all the points once you click on the interface. So you will be able to see this entire rubric. Without the description, you're only going to see the points. So whether it's a 3, 2, 1, or 0, but the system itself will automatically add it. So this total weight will be converted into a letter grade as well. Okay? All right. The third task that we're gonna offer for April is topical speaking. This is gonna be from Sprout 3 all the way to Sapling. Also, Junior Master will be doing topical speaking. The difference between Sprout 3 to Sapling and Junior Master is that we're gonna be only evaluating whether or not they have 2 reasons. And this is all the way to Sapling only. Starting from JM, we encourage students to add details in their response. So we added details in the speaking rubrics. That's the only difference that we have. So just like TOEFL, this responses will be based on a certain prompt. Okay, so we're gonna be grading on how well they're able to answer this prompt. So the main categories in this task will be opinion statement, which is equivalent to their thesis statement, and then how well they back up these thesis statement with 2 reasons that are valid and relevant. Okay, so if we look closer into the content side, the highest point they can get on their opinion statement is a score of 3. So this meaning that the opinion statement or thesis statement is relevant to the prompt. Relevancy meaning they fully answer the prompt question. So let's say, for example, the topic question was something like, what is your favorite Korean food? So students will be answering something like, my favorite food is spaghetti. Okay, so in that case, yes, they are on topic, right? But they're slightly off. Spaghetti is not Korean food, right? So in that case, you would give students a score of 2, okay? So a score of 2 is also given when their topic sentence is slightly incomplete. So sometimes they'll say something like, my favorite food is, and that's it. So then you would consider that incomplete, is not totally relevant, so that's when you would give a score of 2. Okay, a score of 1 will be given when the opinion statement is completely irrelevant to the prompt. So they'll start talking about my favorite book is, my favorite car is, something that is totally off, okay? So in that case, let's say the student is slightly off. They start talking about spaghetti instead of like a Korean food like bulgogi, right? So under opinion statement, we already gave them a score 2 for being slightly off. But we don't want to double penalize students for being slightly off. They made the effort to provide a response. So under reason 1 and reason 2, as long as their reasons back up their own opinion, then they should be able to get full credit, okay? So the same rule applies for reason 1 and reason 2. Let's say they said, my favorite food is spaghetti, and then under reason 1, they go, oh, first, I like bulgogi because it's non-spicy. So that reason is definitely not supporting their own thesis statement. So in that case, you will be docking off points. But your main response should be built on whatever the student said as their thesis. Okay? The second biggest category that we have is presentation, and the description remains the same across all speaking components. Okay? Any questions? No? Okay. All right, so I'm gonna move on to our last but not least component. It's called Listen Speak. This is one of the most challenging components for both students and instructors when they're grading. This task is based on a listening script that they probably studied already in their C learning. Okay, so students will be listening to a listening script, and they will be providing an oral summary of what the main ideas are based on that listening script. These main ideas were selected by the developers of the content. So we specially designed this rubric to help you assess this more objectively. So once you turn on the interface for this task, you're gonna be able to see all the main ideas that were carefully selected. You're gonna notice that some sentences have bolded words. So that means these are the key ideas that they should be mentioning in each sentence. Okay, so we're not gonna be looking for like super specific adjectives or specific verbs or articles. As long as the main idea is present and the bolded words have been mentioned, they should be able to get full credit. Okay, so to better explain this rubric here, you're gonna see the first IP says the boy told the girl to wash the soda can. So you're gonna notice the bolded words are wash the soda can. So as long as the idea is present, let's say the student says something like, he told the girl to wash the soda can. Okay, the bolded ideas are there. So although the word the boy was replaced to the pronoun he, we still consider that as being relevant. So we're gonna give them a score of correct. We're gonna click on correct. So there are 3 additional categories, which are incomplete, wrong, and missing. So you may wonder, so what's the difference between incomplete and missing? Okay, missing would be when they don't mention it at all. So they disregarded the first important point. They were not able to mention it at all. So that's when we give them a score of missing. Now, when we give them a score of incomplete, it would be when any of the bolded words are not present. So maybe the student said something like, the boy told her to wash the can. So the bolded word soda is not present, so that's when we would give them an incomplete. A score of wrong would be given when the idea itself is just totally off. So they'll say something like, the boy told the girl to throw away the soda can. So in that case, the idea is considered irrelevant. So we're gonna click on wrong. Okay. Any questions regarding the IPs? I wanted to actually show you how to grade this on the interface. All right, so this is what the actual interface will look like. You will be able to access the evaluation page through MERP. So on Teachers Portal, you click on your picture, and then it's gonna automatically lead you to the MERP. And on your dashboard, you're gonna see the classes that you've been teaching on that week. You're gonna be able to see on your dashboard like a link that says unmarked. That means that you haven't evaluated the speaking submission. So once you click on that, it's gonna lead you to this pop-up window. So every week, students are gonna be able are submitting their speaking responses, and this list of IPs will be updated based on their topic. So just to facilitate how to use this interface, we're showing it here to you guys. So let's say for number 1, the student said the boy told the girl to wash the can. Okay, so in this case, they missed the word soda, and we're gonna click on incomplete. Okay. Number 2, let's pretend that the student said something like bats spread deadly germs like the coronavirus or something. So in that case, we would consider that as being wrong. They mentioned it, but it's wrong. Okay. Let's pretend that 3, 4, and 5, the student didn't mention anything. That's when their presentation was over. But instead of fulfilling all the IPs that we're giving here, they add their own opinion, and they're like, oh, so teacher, please be careful, wash your hands, and like make sure you wear a mask when you get on the subway. So those are ideas that, yeah, it helps, but they're not relevant to the listening script. They were not mentioned in the listening script, so we're gonna deduct points for that. Okay, so we're gonna count how many ideas were irrelevant. So let's say the student said, teacher, please be careful, wash your hands, and then wear a mask when you get in the subway or something. So that would be a total of 2 ideas. Okay, so we're gonna type in 2. The system will automatically calculate, okay, let's say they got 1 incomplete, 1 wrong, and 2 unimportant errors here. So the system will automatically generate the points, so they will be getting a score of 2 out of 6. Okay? The bottom part for presentation remains, like the description remains the same across all components. So you will have to fill it out. Once you're done clicking on every single category, there is a button here called View Feedback. This is where you're gonna double check your scoring. Okay, so an additional pop-up will show. This is actually like our test server right now, so we're not able to see all the IPs on the key idea selection, but on your regular submissions, you will be able to see the entire list of IPs. So it's gonna show you which ones you graded as incorrect, wrong, missing, or good, okay? And then you're gonna see how many points you gave under comprehensibility and fluency. This is just to help you guys double check your scoring before you actually hit complete, because once you hit complete, you're not gonna be able to change the scoring, okay? So always double check. Once you're done proofreading, you click on preview check. That means that you checked it, you agree with your scoring, okay? You hit complete. The pop-up will close out automatically, and your last step would be to hit complete, okay? So you just double check how many points were given. The total grade should be showing as a letter grade, but this is a test server right now. So once you hit complete, you're done with the submission, okay? Any questions on how to use the interface? Yes, okay. So before we wrap up, there is an additional category called problem speaking. Okay, so like I was explaining to you guys, like when we're going through every single scoring description, there's a score of 0 when there's no attempt to respond. But there's more than that. Okay, there are other cases when there are technical issues. There are also cases when they decide to plagiarize. So let's say the listening script was about the 9 planets in the solar system, and they were too lazy, or they just thought it was too hard, and they just didn't mention any of the IPs from the listening script. They decide to read something from Google. Okay, so this is when we will be filing this as problem speaking for plagiarizing. There are 4 different categories from the prompt. So they'll be just like, basically, they'll be just reading the listening script. So they're pretty smart. So somehow they learned that they can actually record the listening script on their cell phones. So they'll just transcribe that through Kakao, and they just start reading it. So you will be filing it as from prompt. From recording, this is when students will be just playing back the listening script from their cell phone. Another category would be coaching. Okay, so parents are super competitive. Sometimes you may hear the mom at the back telling them what to say, but you can hear everything. So if that happens, that's kind of unfair to other students. So we're gonna file it as problem speaking coaching. Another category that we have is plagiarism from other sources. Like I mentioned, they just decide to like Google something and they start reading that off. Okay. When you file it as plagiarism, though, just make sure that you have the exact source, because you will be copying and pasting the link here. Like, we don't want to accuse them for copying when we don't have like evidence, and this may lead to complaints as well. So just make sure that you're 100% sure it's exactly word for word from the source that you found. Okay. All right. There's another category called other. This is blank. The student does not speak. So you can clearly hear the student flipping through the pages. You hear background noise, but they're not speaking. In this case, you can't provide objective assessment, so we're gonna grade it as other blank. Meaningless words. This is when student only states meaningless words, something like, oh, teacher, I don't know, like this is too hard. Or that could be also considered an excuse. Or also they say something in Korean, they're like, 이게 뭐야, 너무 어려워. Like, you don't understand what they're saying. Or they use inappropriate language. So use your judgment on how severe this is. You're basically filing a report that your response is problematic because you swore, you know? So just make sure that you have enough evidence before you file it under this category. The third one we have is called insufficient. So students may, the response may be 30 seconds long, but within the 30 seconds, all they say is 10 words total. So they just drag the entire presentation. You're not gonna be able to give points in most of the categories. So in this case, we're gonna file it as problem speaking. Just make sure it's 10 or fewer words, okay? What if there's 11 words? Use your judgment, okay? So let's say within the 11 words, they were able to state their opinion statement and reason one. Use your judgment, okay? For off topic, it's when the response is completely off topic. This is only provided under listen speak. You may notice that for topical speaking, we had at the bottom a note saying if it's off topic, there's no cap for presentation, just graded normally. But for listen speak, when the entire response is off topic, there's no way you're gonna be able to give out points under the important point list. So this is when you would be filing as problem speaking, okay? Any questions? So at the bottom here, there is a little box called cancel problem speaking. Just in case you were just like flipping through the tab and you didn't know like what each category's description was, make sure you click on it and deactivate the problem speaking. Once you activate the problem speaking tab, when you go back to the evaluation page, everything is gonna be set as 0 by default. You won't be able to change the score. So make sure that you cancel problem speaking before you go back to your evaluation page. Okay? Any questions, concerns, comments? No? All right, so thank you for your attention. This was the iLearning part of it. If you experience any technical issues when you're grading the speaking responses, please have instructors contact the branch manager or the FMs. They should be able to email FHR and we'll be better able to assist you on this. Okay. Also, there's a reminder for the pilot. We gave instructors an entire week to be able to finish up their submissions, but starting this March, April spring term, the evaluation cycle has been reduced. So the student submissions will be due within 5 business days after they submit. So let's say they submitted on a Monday. We're not going to count the 2 weekend days. They will be due the following Monday. So that will be your deadline. Once the deadline is passed, the system will not let you grade it. So just make sure that you check your due dates. But since this is the first round of evaluations, I heard IT activated a grace period for the spring term only. So starting from summer term, the deadline will be enforced. So just try to get in the habit of checking your dashboard on a daily basis and check your student submissions. When you have a short break time, make sure you finish up your submissions on time. In due case that for X reason you were not able to finish it on time, please contact your BMs. We will have to actually extend the submission. Okay? Any questions? No? Yes.
You said that's going to be reduced to 5 days?
Yes, business days. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Seed? Mm-hmm. Yes. So yes, so for seed sentence creation, instructors will not have to worry about anymore. And we will be only focusing on the speaking side. Okay?
If you go to the top, so everyone, if you notice, there's 3 different sections. So this is where you'll be able to access your class so that you can open up on the smartboard. Okay, so today's classes. If you want to, okay, so you'll notice there's 2 different sections. This is my account, so I don't have any classes, but this is where your today's classes would show up. There's a section on the bottom that says all classroom, right? We actually set this up because one issue we realized was that you don't actually get access to the books for the following term until the day of the following term, right? Which means that any new instructors or any instructors that you need to train, if you need to watch or have them mock and so forth, or if you want to prep, right, and just want to see what's available, you won't be able to see. You can actually get access on the bottom here, right? So if you want a teacher to mock, you can use the bottom half here to get access to the books that they would be teaching the following term. Okay, so all the books are over there. If you go to bookshelf, everyone. Can you go to bookshelves? Yeah. Okay. All the books are going to be here. You just need to open them up. And again, we'll be providing the manual for you, very intuitive about how to create media cards, how to prep your classes. So you'll be able to prep your classes in bookshelf section. And if you go to media card library, so this is a part that I wanted to add a little bit extra of. So we've also incorporated the idea of social learning for Teachers Portal as well, right? So the idea here is that for any media that you're using, any media cards that you're creating, if you choose to make public, so you have the option of keeping it private, you have the option of sharing it, okay? Any content that you're creating or found that you decide to share will show up in the media card library, right? The intent is that there are 30 experienced teachers here, right? And you have more experience than new instructors and so forth. You've already found what content is appropriate or inappropriate. You've already filtered it, right? So then why make new instructors or other instructors who are trying to learn the April curriculum try to find their own content when all they need to do is rely on other content that's already been proven, right? The nice thing here is that if you choose to press this button over here, you can that will import that media card into your book. Question? Yeah.
You said that we create these media cards on certain pages or before certain content. Will it upload to the spot that they put it at?
Yes, exactly. So just as Larry, right? Yeah. Just as Larry's mentioned, it was designed so that, like, the media that we create, it's because it's relevant for a particular section of the book, right? So if you are importing someone else's content, it will go to that exact same section. You won't be able to edit it, though. Okay, won't be able to edit it. Because you're the TLs, FMs, experienced teachers here, if you want, you can press My Branch, and it'll filter it so that you know what your teachers are creating and sharing. Okay. At the same time, your new and inexperienced teachers, they'll be able to see what you're creating, right? So when you're giving them one-on-ones, when you're giving them feedback about their classes, you can be like, yeah, your media was a little bit iffy. I use this one. I think this is a little bit more helpful. Yeah.
Does this only show the ones that they chose to share with everyone?
Yes, exactly. So again, there's an option when you're creating a media card to make it private or public. If you make it public, it goes up here. Okay. So if they're keeping it private, right, you have to wonder, right? Okay, so I just wanted to point that out. Are there any other questions that you might have just come up with now after hearing everything? Oh, yes.
Students are going to learn first five steps through their writing, and they have assignment with their writing with them for the first week.
Do they have, yes, they do have writing assignments. So they're still doing what, right, the same thing, right? It's just that what might have been maybe a longer, I guess, content that they're writing, right? It would probably be like a shorter version of it.
Are they just copying?
Yeah, exactly.
So essentially you're saying, as we're teaching them, let's say, openers, beginners, is that the only thing that they're learning, right? Just openers?
Right, exactly. So whatever they're learning for that particular lesson, right? So for storytelling, for example, they might just focus on the beginning. By week 2, they're focused on beginning and middle, so that's what would be put in. And then by week 3 or week 4, they'd be writing the whole thing in.